have a question for you. Why are we allowing BlackRock, Open Door, which is partially owned by BlackRock, and Blackstone? Why are we allowing them and other investment firms to kill the American dream of home ownership? Folks, that's what's going on. We all know that home ownership gives people a chance at generational wealth, building that generational wealth. But these investment firms are buying up all the houses with their billion-dollar deep pockets, folks, and they're forcing people into rentals and forcing the rents to go through the roof, okay? Home buyers, you should know, are now overwhelmingly white at 82%. Just 6% are Black, just 6% are Asian, and just 7%, folks, are Hispanic. And that's not good. We can't have that, okay? According to Wall Street, this is a Wall Street Journal report. You should know that BlackRock is purchasing entire neighborhoods. Can you imagine having them come into your neighborhood, purchase a neighborhood, converting single-family homes into rentals? And for folks in cities like Houston, Texas, you're not going to believe this, folks. Do you know that BlackRock housing accounts for 25%, yes, of the home purchases? That's not good. That is not good. All right, as of 2017, Blackstone, we're talking about BlackRock, now I'm talking about Blackstone. As of 2017, Blackstone's Invitation Homes, folks, you should know, is reportedly the largest owner of single-family rental homes in the United States, folks. That's right, because that company, we should tell you, as of September 2020, the company owned about 80,000 rental homes in 16 markets, folks. These companies are incentivized to keep their repair costs low and their fees and rent prices high, folks. That's how they make their money. They increase their bond sales, and that determines how they're able to scale up their business, folks. Now, hear this, folks. In May of 2018, oh, this is a doozy, tenants filed a class action lawsuit against Blackstone Invitation Homes because of excessive rent prices and fees, okay? Tenants reported, you're not going to believe this, tenants reported being charged $95 if they're even 1 minute late on their rent payment, regardless if the company's online payment system is broken. Oh, these people have nerve. It is so bad that now only 40% of Americans believe they will ever be able to purchase a home. Folks, that's not good. We have the wrong people in charge. You need to run for office, especially if you're a young person. Run for office, and let's get these state, local, and federal government political positions filled with people who have empathy, who actually care, A, about the country, and B, about people. Stay with me. I'll be back with your news. Well, thank you for staying with us for the news, folks, bringing you all the stories from all around the neighborhood and all around the world. We're going to begin with death after surgery for Black men. Turns out it's a real problem, folks. It is more likely for Black male seniors compared to their white peers. That's right, folks. A study published in the medical journal BMJ found that within 30 days after surgery, folks, death was 50% higher, yes, for Black men than for white men. And researchers at the University of California, Los Angeles, they found that dying after surgery overall was higher in Black men when compared with white men, white women, and Black women. Killing these fellas. We should tell you the findings point to possibilities such as poorer pre-optimization of comorbidities prior to surgery. Also, delays of care due to structural racism and physician bias, and worse stress, we know that, and its associated physical burden on Black men in the United States. If I'm a Black man, I'm going to a Black doctor just to make sure that I don't get mistreated just on just internal bias that people have. All right, from New York, some high school students, they are threatened to hang and shoot. Oh, yeah. They're Black peers, but apparently officials at the school say, it's not a crime. Oh, boy. These terrorist threats are playing out. I did say terrorist threats. I thought that was a crime. Are playing out in Putnam County, New York, folks. Of course, it involves TikTok videos posted by 3 Carmel High School students who threatened deadly violence against the Black students there at the school. One of the 2 videos depicted an actual shooting. Yes, people, that happened at Carmel Middle School. Oh my goodness. Okay, one of the 2 videos depicted, as I said, an actual shooting. Oh yeah, this threat is real. Okay, in the video, the words, "I'll hang you like the KKK." That's right, folks, are heard. One student literally says, "I'm going to bring my machine gun to school." Somebody please tell me why that student has not been completely disciplined for that mess, because we know that can happen. District officials, they say they are aware of the videos and that the students responsible will be disciplined according to the district's code of conduct. Now, the Putnam County Sheriff's Office apparently investigated and quickly determined that the students' actions did not break the law. Ooh, boy, oh boy, you got to watch where you live these days. And thank goodness the Biden administration is suing petrochemical giants Demka and Dupont. Thank you there, okay? Over that deadly chemical pollution in Cancer Alley down in Louisiana. Now, Cancer Alley is an 85-mile stretch from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, officially known as the Mississippi River Chemical Corridor. Oh, imagine living on that sucker, okay? The Dinka neoprene production plant there emits chloroprene and other hazardous air pollutants. It emits them right into the air in Laplace, Louisiana. Dinka owns the company. DuPont owns the land. The Biden administration, Michael Regan, that's the EPA guy, that's the black guy who fortunately got in there and is saying, I don't think so. All right, they're saying that the facility poses unacceptable high cancer risk to the low-income and predominantly black residents, and it is demanding significant cuts to toxic pollution. More than 15,000 people, folks, live within 2.5 miles of the plant, and yes, that does include that little elementary school, but what's a few kids when you have to getting in the way of your profits? I mean, hey, okay? The EPA is expected to propose a new rule for chloroprene emissions on March 31st. Let's hope they come out with it, because this is a mess. All right, now, looking at your health, ladies, if you are pregnant, here's a warning for you. You're being advised to get tested for congenital syphilis. It's on the rise, increasing by 700%, folks. That's right. In the past decade, and that does come to us from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Now, congenital syphilis, that's when a syphilis-infected mother transmits the disease to her unborn baby during her pregnancy. All right, syphilis is known as the great pretender because its symptoms are similar to other diseases. We're talking swollen lymph nodes, fatigue, fever, sore throat, even hair loss. But experts do say there is a 98% chance that the infection will not be passed on to the baby if treated with penicillin 30 days before delivery. So all is not lost. Get in there and get treated, get tested, get treated. The U.S. areas with the highest rates of congenital syphilis are in the South and the Southwest, folks. From 2016 to 2021, Mississippi, where they're down there doing stupid stuff like trying to bring in Jim Crow instead of dealing with their real problems. Mississippi saw a 3,300% increase in cases. Oklahoma has a 3,000% increase. Now, see, these are the states where people are sitting around, folks, you're getting caught up in all this hate, and in the end, they're letting you die like flies. They do not care. You've got to hold your politicians, they have to be accountable. All right, we should also tell you that Hawaii's cases, they increased more than 2,200%, and New Mexico experienced over a 1,600% increase. Get tested. All right, let's move on, because we're going to the environment, and boy, we love some good news about the climate, and we've got some. All right, those California winter storms, folks, they lifted out of drought and significantly improved some areas of California. We're talking north central in California, including the Sierra Nevada, the coastline from Monterey Bay to northwest LA County, and parts of northwest California, including Humboldt and Del Norte counties. All of those are officially out of the drought categorization. Woohoo! Okay. And a large portion of the middle of the state, it's now categorized as abnormally dry. But Northeast California and the high desert of Southeastern California, they do remain in the severe drought category. So we know we can make change and we can help, and Mother Nature will work with us, but we got to do our part. There is some additional good climate news because some nations have now come to an agreement on a world-changing deal to protect ocean life in the high seas. Now, the high seas, you should know, they make up 2/3 of the Earth's ocean surface. That's a lot of water, folks. More than 190 countries are involved in this treaty. All right, a country's legal authority generally extends 200 miles from its shores. After that comes the high seas, where no one nation is enlarged, so it's kind of like the Wild, Wild West. Member states have been trying to agree on this long-awaited treaty for 20 years. They couldn't for 20 years. Well, now we got it. Let's be positive. Now they got it. And the agreement still has to be ratified by the United Nations. All right, that's great climate news. Unfortunately, it's not all good. Experts think the power of our trees and soil to absorb carbon may be lessening, okay? About 30% of carbon emissions end up in plants, in trees, in soil, and another 25% ends up in the ocean, which essentially cleans up the pollution. But now there is evidence that this is changing and not for the better, folks. The carbon absorption of the ocean in the Amazon may already be slowing down. Spots of concern include Eastern Africa, also the Mediterranean region, also the North and Central American western coast, also India and Southeast Asia, and this means people have to make up the difference by simply sending up less carbon. That's just it. All right, moving on, they call it the silent killer. It's rising sea levels, and it's already a reality. Folks, since 1990, you should know sea levels have risen about 10 centimeters, which is about 4 inches. Sea levels are expected to rise between half a meter and 1.5 meters, or 40 to 60 inches, by the end of the century. This will lead to the flooding of vast and very densely populated areas. Folks, some island states we know are expected to disappear entirely. And some areas out in the ocean, you should know that entire nation populations, entire island populations have already been evacuated. All right, let's move on to the news of the diaspora. We're going to go to Guyana. The government of Guyana has reached out to the nations of Rwanda and India to strengthen its healthcare services and potentially manufacture vaccines in the Caribbean, folks. Guyana is going to be seeking to develop a facility like BioNTech's mRNA vaccine factory in Kigali, Rwanda. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the importance of not only having access to vaccines, but also in ensuring that every region is vaccine secure. All right, let's go to South Africa, where South Africa has completed its first 3D printed low-cost construction. It's a house. They built it in less than 24 hours. Isn't that amazing? That's playing out at the School of Civil Engineering there at the University of Johannesburg. But there is other news of South Africa, and that's unfortunately not good news. South Africa is in the middle of an ever worsening power crisis in which homes are having to go without electricity for up to 10 hours per day, folks. That's right. All right, now the president is creating a new cabinet post. It's an electricity minister. Hopefully that person will be able to curb the rampant corruption and mismanagement that have put the country's nearly 60 million people in the dark. Those are your stories. Stay with me. I'll be right back with Ask Dr. K, the financial news. Of course, you know we got the international report, missing, and the slay word. Stay with me. Your slay word of the week, folks. That's right. Go out there and slay it, folks. Hit it, okay? Get your vocabulary together and stay competitive. The word this week is delimit. D-E-L-I-M-I-T. Delimit. That is a verb. That means it gives action to the noun. And its origins are in the French in the 19th century. All right, the definition is to determine the limits or boundaries of. Here are your sentences. The neighbors gathered each spring to mend the wall, delimiting each person's property from the others. Okay, let's move on. Here's another one. The geography of an island is delimited by water on all sides. Delimit, that's your slay word of the week. It means to determine the limits or boundaries of. Use it all week in your convos, level up your vocab, and keep it moving. Stay with me.
Anyone who thinks that slavery ended in the 1860s with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation are grievously wrong.
If we caught a bird, we ate through the feathers and ate the bird. We didn't have nothing to cook on. We didn't have no stove.
You know who you are and who we are. We're still on that big plantation.
She was bonded to them until they died. She was their slave.
They said, bro, we're going to be killed tonight.
Could that same white dude keep terrorists there? Or Russian spies, or the KGB, and the government wouldn't know it? No.
They thought I was beat so bad that I couldn't do nothing, but I did.
Where are you, Anijah Gayton? We're out there looking for you. This is our segment where we highlight missing African-American girls, and with your help, we're going to find them. Have you seen 15-year-old Anaya Gayton? She's been missing since February this year from Dallas, Texas. That's Anaya Gayton. She's 15 years old. She's been missing since February of this year from Dallas, Texas. Anyone having any information, please contact McKinney Police Department, and their phone number is 972-547-2700. Where are you, Anijah Gayton? We are out there looking for you, and with the help of our audience, we will find you. We are back at you, folks. This is your international report so that we can keep you abreast of what is going on around the world. Welcome, Edie.
Thank you, Carol. As you know, I listen a lot to the UN news, and I have my finger on the pulse as to what they're saying and doing now. UNICEF has come out with an interesting report on mothers and young women and the soaring numbers of malnutrition. Why? The instability in Ukraine, the instability that came about through COVID, the actual physical instability in these countries, war, famine. These are all things that are in turn affecting the health of women. And we may say, well, what does that have to do with us? It has to do with us because that problem over there cannot stay over there. It'll eventually come to our borders and we will have to deal with it. So the countries that are affected, there are at least 12 countries: Afghanistan, Burkina Faso, Chad, Ethiopia, Kenya, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, and Yemen. Not all of these are quote unquote basket case countries. Some have very fragile governance, but others like Nigeria, the governance is bad, but the governance is there. So these are things that I think that we need to listen out for, look out for, and plan and see how do we think that these governments are going to address these problems as time moves on.
And what happens if these governments can't address these problems? The problems still exist.
The problems still exist, and you're seeing children with stunting, you're seeing women with other diseases related to malnutrition. So it's just like a vicious cycle.
Yeah. And we know that here in America, I mean, let's face it, we are a country of immigrants. And at the end of the day, it's the immigrants that make us stronger. So we need to make other countries stronger so that when they immigrate to our country, we're still getting these fantastic, very brilliant, very well-educated people. So thank you so much for that report. Dr. Inyang Ebon-Harstrup, she brings you your international report every week, so you know what's going on around the world. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you, Edie.
Thank you, Carol.
Time for your financial news, folks, because we have to know what's going out there in the financial world. We're going to start with Ford Motor Company, folks, where the company wants to be able to shut down your air conditioner and your radio if you miss a car payment. Yes, you heard me correctly. Also, Ford has a way that it says the car will also be able to drive away from you on its own. Yes, folks, you heard me correctly. Ford Motor Company says it has no intentions to use the technology that can help it with our repossessions, but it's still applying for a patent for it just in case. Okay, Ford, we feel you. Meanwhile, car loan delinquencies are on the rise. They've been steadily ticking back up from their pandemic low, folks. You should know that in January, severely delinquent auto loans hit their highest point since 2006. So it's a problem. All right, let's go to Starbucks, another problem. Starbucks is refusing to provide testimony about the coffee chain's federal labor law violations and alleged union busting actions. Okay, while you charge all that money for that little tiny cup of coffee. What nerve, all right? Already the National Labor Relations Board has filed over 75 complaints against Starbucks for violating federal labor law. There have been over 500 unfair labor practice charges against Starbucks. Okay, these violations include the illegal firing of more than a dozen Starbucks workers. See, when those workers want to unionize or when they unionize and Starbucks wants to close stores, those are the stores they close. In other words, if you don't want your store closed, don't unionize. No Starbucks. You're not running this. The people run this. Okay, do what you got to do, folks. All right, then let's go to Tesla. Boy, oh boy, Elon Musk just keeps running his mouth. and keeps letting those right-wingers in with all that hate, and all it's doing is making the company take dive after dive. Both of them, Tesla and Twitter, take dives. Okay, Tesla has to cut prices again. Few people appreciate Elon Musk's mouth and his efforts to elevate white supremacist rhetoric. So I guess fewer people want his car? I know I have no desire for one. Too many other options on the market. Tesla has slashed the prices of both its Model S and Model X SUV luxury vehicles 5% and 4% respectively. And the models getting price cuts, okay, guess what, folks? They already don't qualify for the Inflation Reduction Act tax credits. The Model S competes against competition from Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, Lucid Air Sedan, and BMW. Do get it together, okay? All right, those folks. Those are your financial stories for the week. I'll be right back with more.
I'm just sick and tired of us not spending time together lately.
I know, baby. I know. I'm sorry I ain't been spending time with you. I've just been working on this big deal. It's gonna bring a lot more money to the household for it.
What you doing here, boss? Yeah, just checking to see if you still got it.
You take this work. Your partner. I don't want it back.
I've seen the movies, man. I know how this goes.
You see the movies, huh? You see Goodfellas, New Jack City.
Everything I do is for you. Like, I just need a little bit more time, man. Fine bullshit. Like I said, he's gonna call any second.
Why don't you take a look at this video? Guess what? It's starring you.
Welcome. This is the end of our show and hopefully the beginning of the lengthening of your life if you're listening to Dr. K. Welcome, Dr. K.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. You know, it is now Heart Health Month, but I had to interrupt because a very important study came out today. It was reported in the Washington Post, CNN. The study was done in London, and they followed what people ate from 2009 until 2012. Then they followed their lives for 10 years, and they found out that the people who ate the most what's called ultra-processed foods had a very increased incidence of being diagnosed with cancer and dying from cancer. And the most glaring cancer in the study was ovarian cancer. These participants were between the ages of 40 and 69, and they found out the people that ate the most ultra-processed foods were the younger patients. The people did not have a family history of cancer, and lo and behold, they were diagnosed with cancer. Ultra-processed foods are the middle aisle. They are the hot dogs. They are the crackers, the baked goods, the juices, the sodas. Once you leave that produce aisle, you are truly in illness zone, and every bit of data corroborates it. Not only was the incidence of ovarian cancer higher, but so was the death rate. Another very significant cancer was breast cancer, lung cancer, brain cancer, and lymphoma. It is vitally important that we make our meals from the produce aisle. And I have some produce here on the table, and I want to show that sometimes the produce aisle can be packaged food, blueberries, certain types of oranges, but the studies have shown that it's actually better to eat that food than it is to eat the crackers and the hot dogs and the baked goods and things like that. They did not say why this was a fact. In other words, it could be the packaging, it could be contaminants, it could be the food additives. So they don't know exactly what it is,
but they know it's something.
It's a fact, yes. And the thing is, people have to understand the American food companies are very wealthy. They have great advertising, but people, we have to eat from the produce aisle for our longevity.
Wait, it's so interesting, Dr. K, and I hope people are hearing you, because I do have one quick question, and we only have about 5 seconds left. What about the baby food?
It's in the produce aisle, people. It's in the produce aisle. That's all I can say. So I would make my own baby food in this day and age.
Wow. And we know listen, folks, if you think corporate America cares about whether or not you get lymph node, breast cancer, uterine cancer, whatever, they don't. As long as you paid them all along the way, they're good.
They're good. And baby food has to be preserved. Spinach does not live on a shelf. Yeah. Let's face it. Yeah. So I would count baby food in there.
That's a mess. All right. Thank you, Dr. K. Yeah. All right, now, 2023, it's your turn. Lengthen your life. I'm Carol Angela Davis. This has been Dr. K.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll see you next week on Impact News. And from all of us here at Impact News, we'll see you next week with more important information that A, increases your longevity, and B, just gets you understand exactly what's going on out here so there is no confusion. See you next week.
Thanks.